In this lecture, we will examine sacred space, religion and settlement, process of sanctification, traditions and change, and religious law. This is important to geographers because of how religion shapes views about territory, identity, and society. Sacred space is a space that has special religious significance and meaning that makes it worthy of reverence or devotion. Also, sacred space not only can include specific places and sites, it can also include the performance of religious rituals such as praying. However, sacred space can be highly contested. For instance, to protect the sacredness of two holiest cities in Islam, Mecca and Medina, are closed to non-Muslims. Another is one of the most continuous examples, which involves the city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem contains sites sacred to Christians, Jews, and Muslims that are in very close proximity and in some cases overlapping. What makes control of and access to these spaces so contentious is the fact that some adherents to these faiths believe that they have a unique and exclusive religious claim to them. The map on the right depicts Jerusalem's Old City, the location of numerous sacred sites. The Old City is surrounded by a wall and internally partitioned into 4 quarters, mainly along religious lines. 1 quarter for Christian, 1 quarter for Muslim, 1 quarter for Jewish, and 1 quarter for Armenian. The top photo shows the Temple Mount, as it's known to Jews, or Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary to Muslims. This contested site is sacred to both groups. Muslims believe the Dome of the Rock, which sits atop the Temple Mount, marks the site from which Muhammad ascended into heaven. After Mecca and Medina, Jerusalem ranks as the 3rd holiest site in Islam. Jews pray at the Western or Wailing Wall below the Dome of the Rock. For Jews, Jerusalem's Temple Mount is sacred because it housed the first and second temples of the Jews, which were destroyed by the Babylonians and Romans, respectively. All that remains of the second temple is the Western Wall. And the bottom left photo is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. For Christians, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre marks the site of the crucifixion, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. Space within the church is heavily contested by different Christian communities, including the Greek Orthodox, Roman Catholic, Armenian, and others, and disputes among them are not uncommon. Space through pilgrimage. A pilgrimage is a journey to a sacred place or a site for religious reasons. The photo on the left depicts a Christian pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is virtually absent in Protestantism and most pronounced in Catholicism, which possesses an elaborate network of sacred pilgrimage sites. Major destinations include the Holy Land, encompassing places such as Bethlehem and Jerusalem, as well as Rome, Italy. For many Catholics, sites associated with appearances of the Virgin Mary receive special veneration, and also major pilgrimage destinations. Most of these sites are outside Christianity's hearth. Annually, more than 6 million pilgrims flock to Lourdes, France, shown here. The basilica was built above a grotto reported to be the site of apparitions of the Virgin Mary and miracle cures. The photo at the top right is a Buddhist pilgrimage. For Buddhists, major pilgrim destinations are concentrated in the hearth area and are associated with significant events in Buddha's life: his birthplace, his enlightenment, his first sermon, and his death. These pilgrims pray and meditate at the Bodhi tree, or Bo tree, where Siddhartha Gautama attained enlightenment. The photo on the bottom right depicts a Hindi pilgrimage. Among Hindus, the Ganges River is revered for its energy and for its ability to sustain life and remove negative karma. A number of important pilgrimage sites have developed in close proximity to or along the banks of this river at places like this in Haridwar, where people can immerse themselves. Distinctive associations between religious communities and territory can develop. One of the most profound examples of this is around the area of Israel. During the 19th century, a political movement known as Zionism developed. This map series illustrates the emergence of Israel, a Jewish state. The first map begins with Israel in biblical times. The second map shows the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, which brought the Zionist dream for a Jewish homeland, reminiscent of the Kingdom of Israel that existed in biblical times, closer to fruition. Simultaneously, however, Palestinians, a largely Muslim population living in the area, were made stateless. The third map shows the Zionist dream more fully realized in 1967 when Israel gained control of the West Bank, part of the biblical lands known as Judea and Samaria, and to which Jews have a deep attachment, and access to the Western Wall in Jerusalem after the Six-Day War. Finally, the fourth map illustrates the political status of Jerusalem, including the West Bank, which remains highly contested because both Palestinians and Jews feel they have legitimate claims to them. Some Jews have built settlements in the West Bank, though they are considered illegal by the United Nations. Religion is a significant factor in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but questions of citizenship and water rights are also involved. Sanctification refers to the making of a sacred site after a significant event has occurred there. Here we consider the example of the former site of the Murrah federal building in Oklahoma City, which was bombed in an act of domestic terrorism in 1995. This site is today recognized as a national memorial. The process of sanctification takes shape usually in 5 steps. First, the event occurs as depicted in the top left photo, the actual bombing of the building where lives were lost, including many children. Next, an informal consecration emerges as spontaneous flowers and pictures are displayed near the site as shown in the top right photo. The third step is the formal consecration, where an official consensus develops for a permanent monument as shown in the middle left photo. The fourth step is the final consecration, where a solemn dedication of the site takes place, like a ceremony, as shown in the photo at the middle right. Finally, every year, a ritual occurs like the marathon race as shown in the bottom photo to commemorate the event in remembrance of what occurred. All religions undergo the pressure to change through people's attitudes, beliefs, and values. There are 3 developments that propel religious change, which traditionalists, also known as fundamentalists, usually condemn: modernism, secularization, and globalization. Modernism refers to an intellectual movement that encourages scientific thought, the expansion of knowledge, and belief in the inevitability of progress, and is feared by religious groups that it contributes to secularization, which reduces the scope of influence of religion. It is also thought that globalization leads to a more secular society and therefore is shunned. Hinduism also contains a long-standing tradition that has been lessened over the years called the caste system. The caste system is a hierarchical form of social and economic status that one is born into. It was thought that the members of a higher caste could become socially polluted just by nearness to Dalits, who were associated with jobs believed to be unclean. Even though it has been abolished by law, the caste system still affects social relations and interactions in rural areas. The photo on the top shows the different social classes called varnas, ranked on the basis of purity. The photo on the bottom is a mass conversion to Buddhism in Mumbai, India. As it developed, the caste system sanctioned discrimination. Nowhere was this clearer than in the treatment of the Dalits, who were excluded from Hindu temples and other public facilities. Understandably, many Dalits and other low-caste Hindus have converted to Buddhism. Resistance to change is sometimes expressed through various kinds of fundamentalism. Religious fundamentalism is a movement characterized by a return to fundamental principles, by rigid adherence to these principles, and often by intolerance of other views. Christian fundamentalists consider the Bible to be infallible and to provide a clear direction on political, moral, and social issues. In the United States, Christian fundamentalists oppose such practices such as teaching evolution, abortion, and same-sex marriages. Islam fundamentalists carry the same views, however they also resist westernization and globalization. Islamic fundamentalists interpret jihad, which translates to mean utmost struggle, to an extreme sense, claiming that it justifies the use of terrorism as a way for Muslims to defend their faith. Muslims use the term Sharia, to refer to Islamic law derived from the Quran. Sharia addresses different dimensions of people's lives, such as marriage, divorce, inheritance, and the status of women. This map highlights a range of perspectives on the relationship between religion and the state. According to Iran's constitution, all laws must be based on Islam. In Malaysia, Islamic law applies only to Muslims. Mauritania is an Islamic republic but does not privilege Sharia in its legislation. The fastest growing branch within Christianity is renewalism, a broad term that includes the Pentecostal and charismatic movements. Renewalism is not the same as fundamentalism. Renewalists believe that they are filled with the Holy Spirit and engage in certain practices that are not mainstream, such as speaking in tongue, faith healing, and the performance of miracles. Renewalists now make up the second largest group of Christians after Catholics. One of the issues surrounding renewalism is the prosperity gospel, which is an idea that one's physical and economic well-being are direct consequences of the financial contributions a member makes to the church. Megachurches, which are churches with 2,000 or more members, are very popular with renewalists. Yodo Full Gospel Church, with 800,000 members shown in the photo, is a Pentecostal church in Seoul, South Korea. For comparison, Lakewood Church in Houston, Texas is the largest megachurch in the U.S., with an average weekly attendance that exceeds 43,000 people. However, some 7 million television viewers also watch Lakewood Church services. In the United States, megachurches are concentrated in the South and West, as shown in the chart. Please pause the video and answer the following. Using examples, explain why sacred space is important to geographers. In your own words, using the text as a guide, be thorough and specific with your answer.